Hey guys, all right, here's our next section of Hate That Cat by Sharon Creech. So we left on kind of a good cliffhanger yesterday from January 3rd, The Gift, inspired by Mr. William Carlos Williams by Jack. So much depends upon a black kitten in a straw basket under the Christmas tree. Aww. That was a surprise to a lot of us, wasn't it? January 4th. My parents woke me so early and seemed in a hurry to rush me downstairs to the Christmas tree blinking and the fire crackling. I like the scene he's setting here. And I didn't see it right away, that little straw basket tucked to one side. I was on the floor pawing through the packages when something moved. I thought maybe it was a mouse that had crept inside, and I jumped back. Not that I'm afraid of a mouse, but it wouldn't be my favorite thing to encounter in a pile of presents. And then I saw a blur of black fur, and I thought, oh no, it's the fat black cat. But then a pink nose, tiny black paws, and blinking, sleepy eyes. A small black fur ball, not a big black fat fur ball. A kitten stumbling out of the basket and wobbling over to me and crawling up on my lap and licking my pajamas. And I forgot that I hate cats as it crawled up onto my chest and purred. And I was smiling all over the place. Oh, Jack loves his new little tiny furball kitten. So I really like here the part where he's talking about the kitten stumbling out of the basket and wobbling over to him. It reminded me of one of the poems that we had read earlier about the cow, the little calf on it, kind of tottering on its legs in the field, right? So he's still kind of connecting those same sort of feelings back to some of the other poems by picking again that really specific language. Stumbling out of the basket and wobbling over to him is just giving us that impression that this is a tiny little animal that's not quite sure of itself yet. And I love how he conveyed how happy he was about the cat without saying that he was happy, by just saying, I forgot I hate cats, and I was smiling all over the place by stretching out that word smile and with a whole bunch of eyes on the inside of that word. January 8th. So much. Inspired by Mr. William Carlos Williams by Jack. So much depends upon a black kitten dotted with white beside the photo of my yellow dog. Maybe we should write another so much poem like Jack. Time has moved on since the last time we wrote one. Maybe we have something new that so much depends upon. January 10th. My blank is like a blank. I couldn't think of a simile. Brain broken. Can't even think of a name for the bouncing black kitten, for that's how broken my brain is. I call her Kitty and Mooshy and Wiggles and Flopper, but I don't have a real name for her yet. Don't tell anyone those goofy names I use, okay? They are embarrassing. So we're going to start thinking about writing similes as well. So my blank is like a blank. We're going to see a little bit more of that in one of his later poems. Now, you're going to like this next poem. It's actually called The Naming of Cats by T.S. Eliot. And it's a longer poem. It has 7 stanzas, and the lines are pretty long. The vocabulary is pretty intense in some parts, but it just sounds cool, and you're going to really like the topic, I think. So the naming of cats. The naming of cats, oh, by the way, before I start, you're going to see that just like Black Cat, you're probably going to see a rhythm in this poem in some parts of it, okay? The naming of cats is a difficult matter. It isn't just one of your holiday games. You may think at first I'm as mad as a hatter when I tell you a cat must have 3 different names. First of all, there's the name that the family use daily, such as Victor or Jonathan, George or Bill Bailey. All of them sensible, everyday names. There are fancier names if you think they sound sweeter, some for the gentlemen, some for the dames, such as Plato, Admetus, Electra, Demeter, but all of them sensible, everyday names. But I tell you, a cat needs a name that's peculiar, a name that is peculiar and more dignified. Else, how can he keep up his tail perpendicular, or spread out his whiskers and cherish his pride? Of names of this kind, I can give you a quorum, such as Munkustrap, Quazo, or Corapat, such as Bum Ballerina, or else Jelly Rum, names that never belong to more than one cat. But above and beyond, there's still one name left over, and that is the name that you will never guess, the name that no human research can discover, but the cat himself knows and will never confess. When you notice a cat in profound meditation, the reason I tell you is always the same. His mind is engaged in rapt contemplation of the thought of the thought of the thought of his name. His ineffable, effable, effin' ineffable, deep and inscrutable, singular name. And that last one, T.S. Eliot, capitalized name. Because we know that we capitalize names. And although we will never know, no human, it says, will ever know this name, it's the cat themselves meditating, contemplating, thinking of their name that only they know. So I love that idea, and maybe you cat owners out there can tell me. I kind of agree with this, and it's funny that whenever I read this with my students, we have the same conversation that, yes, families name their cats. And, for example, my cat is Luella. But then we have a nickname, Lulu. So we have like the sensible name that the family use daily, like Luella or Lulu. But then there are the peculiar names as well, that sometimes you might, have like a nickname of your cat. Like sometimes we call her Luella Pearl. Somehow she's come up with a middle name, or maybe like our cat Fern, we call her like Fernie Bernie. But then there's the third name that every cat has, the one that only they themselves know. So when you see that cat thinking hard, they might just be thinking about their own name that nobody knows. So let's see what Jack thought about that poem too. January 14th. The naming of cats by Mr. T.S. Eliot made me laugh. Munkustrap? Bomballerina? Jelly Rum? That Mr. T.S. Eliot, is he alive? Must like cats. And do you think it is true that cats have their own secret names that only they know? Their ineffable, effable names? Okay, I will unfreeze my brain now and write a simile, but I am warning you, it might not be too good. The chair in my room is like a pleasingly plump mama. So remember, similes are things that compare one thing to another, usually unrelated, using the word like or as. So the chair is the thing we're comparing in my room, is like, it's a simile because it uses like, a pleasingly plump mama. So why might you compare a chair to a pleasingly plump mama? Think about that for a second. What might a chair do that a pleasingly plump mama can do? How could those be similar to each other? Do you have some ideas? Okay, so Jack's going to explain a little bit. January 17th. Go on? Tell why that chair is like a pleasingly plump mama? The chair in my room is like a pleasingly plump mama, big and squishy with stuffing poking out. It is over there in the corner, sitting quietly, silently waiting for me to come and jump in her lap and bring a book or two, or a blanket when I'm sick. That plump mama chair just sits there waiting for me. And while she waits, she looks a little lonely, to tell you the truth. She used to have a dog to jump into her lap when I wasn't home, but all that is left of my good yellow dog are pieces of his fur stuck here and there. And now there is a kitten, but the kitten doesn't like the yellow chair half as much as she likes my pillow. So, I love this idea that Jack has not only come up with his simile comparing the chair in his room to a pleasingly plump mama, but then he goes on and explains all of that, like how a chair is like a mama because you can curl up on their lap with a book or a blanket, and they might be sitting there lonely waiting for you when you're at school or somewhere else. So I'd like us to maybe think about doing that ourselves, coming up with a simile and then explaining it further like Jack did. Now, there is also something quite like a simile, but it's called a metaphor. And a metaphor does not compare using the word like or as, but it just compares it, and it says something is something else. You're going to see that here. January 24th. After a tremendous this is a tongue twister for me. After tremendous tugging at my broken brain, I finally dug up a metaphor. It's about the kitten, who now has a name, Skitter McKitter, because that's what she does. Skitter here, skitter there, skitter everywhere. Ready for the metaphor? The black kitten. The black kitten is a poet, leaping from line to line, sometimes running rapidly, sometimes soothing slowly, here and there, up and down. So you can kind of see Jack turning this metaphor, comparing the black kitten to a poet leaping. How he's changing the pace of that poem with his spacing. Down and up, in a silent, steady rhythm, exploring all the tiny pieces of the world. You really get the motion of that little Skitter McKitter bounding here and there, leaping around like a poet. I love that idea. Now, what did you think of Skitter McKitter's name? One of those kind of interesting kitty cat names that we just talked about in that other poem by T.S. Eliot. Kind of reminds me of Miss Haynes' cat she used to have. His name was Fatty McFat. So I bet you can imagine what Fatty McFat was like, since that was his name. All right, so we're going to stop there for today. I'd like you to see if you can write a simile and then follow up with more description like Jack did, and then see if you can also come up with a metaphor again. So I'll give you Jack's examples and see if you can spark your own there. All right, good luck. Can't wait to read what you write.